Welcome back to KC Cares, Kansas City's window on the nonprofit community and the people they serve. I'm Ruth Baum-Biggis, and joining us is Julie Robinson.
Yeah.
Outreach Manager of Refugee and Immigration Services and Empowerment at the Kansas City Library. That's a long title.
Yes.
Wow.
It is 66 characters. As a matter of fact.
I love that you know that.
We had to get a special template to put it on my ID badge.
Oh, I love it. I love that. That's great. But you have as important a job as all those characters indicate.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what falls under your wheelhouse here at the library.
Anything that deals with refugees and immigrants, which is a very broad category.
Yeah.
Depending on how far back you want to take immigration. I've been told a couple times to reel it in a little. 1620 might be a little too long ago. But we do everything. I mean, I shouldn't say everything. We do a lot. We do English classes, we do citizenship classes, we do documentary series, we do we partner with tons of nonprofit organizations to bring information to those communities and anyone else in the metro.
So the goal in part is to help the community understand immigration, refugee issues maybe in our community, to be informative, to be a resource.
Yes.
And to be a resource for immigrants and refugees.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be right?
Yes.
So I kind of don't know where to dive in first because there's so much that falls under that. Well, let's start with one of the things you mentioned. You all offer citizenship classes.
Yes.
Let's talk about what is offered in those and who can come and take them.
Okay. Well, anyone can come, but if you were born here, you don't need to take a citizenship class because you had that at the moment you were born. So we start with English for Citizenship. It teaches the answers to the 100 questions, civics questions on the exam. We also teach what the words in the Oath of Allegiance and the Pledge of Allegiance mean. The Oath of Allegiance has some very big words, so when you are a new speaker of English, and not everyone who takes the exam obviously is, but it's hard to understand what some of those words mean. So we start with that, and it's a 12-week class, and we offer it 3 times a year. And then when you are ready, and it's your feeling, not ours, that you want to take your exam at USCIS, which is U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services.
Thank you
for
defining that acronym.
We then, you sign up for that yourself. We don't handle any of that. And then we have we offer it 3 times to each person who is taking the exam, and it's called Citizenship Interview Practice. And you spend 2 hours with a trained person to pretend that they are the interviewer up at where you're taking the test. We have to have it for 2 hours because we have to ask you all 100 questions because you only have to answer 10 during the exam, but you don't know what 10 you're going to answer. It's computer generated. So you need to know the answers to all of them.
Now, in teaching this class 3 times a year, because many may have English as a second language, do you also provide any language assistance, or do you offer it, let's say, in Spanish?
No. To be able to take the test in Spanish, you will have had to have been here. There are 3 different categories, and you will have had to have been here 15 to 20 years to be able to do that and be a certain age.
So the classes you're teaching are in English?
They're in English, because you will need to do that, take that test in English. So we like that you have some English proficiency, but you don't have to speak perfectly. We've had people who spoke very little English. But in those 12 weeks, they learn the answers. And we find that they go from answering one-word sentences to full sentences. So we're not teaching that, but it comes from modeling it.
Right.
So, and it works very well. Out of that, we've had about 7 people become citizens, which is really awesome.
Since starting the program?
Since starting English for Citizenship, yes.
And when did you start that? How long ago?
2016.
That's pretty recently.
Yes.
Wow.
So
7 people. Oh, that's
Yes.
exciting. And you have, I think you have a ceremony coming up in November?
November 5th, Election Day. So yes, we will have roughly 75 applicants there with their friends and family. We hold it at Central Library in Kirk Hall, the big main area when you walk in the front doors. So it's the best thing we do. Honestly, that's how I feel. When you watch them take that oath, you see them, they never stop smiling. There are tears, mainly mine, but it is awesome. And so many people who are born here have never had the opportunity to see that ceremony and understand what people have gone through to reach that point.
Well, hopefully-
education, financially.
Hopefully we
everything.
can come down and try to capture that.
would
I
be
think
fun.
that would be just such an
Yes.
amazing thing.
It is open to the public.
to see.
So yes, and we have a great time. The Friends of the Library are very generous and help me have a wonderful reception,
That's lovely.
complete with a professional photographer who will take pictures with the judge and any of the applicants, the new citizens, and their families. And it's a wonderful remembrance for them.
And this is a free program.
It's a free program.
Oh my gosh. So if somebody wanted to find out when the next program or class is, where's the best place to go to get details on this?
We have a webpage on the library, so kclibrary.org/rise, R-I-S-E.
Next thing on the agenda,
Next thing on the
the
agenda.
next thing you offer, you have such a
Okay.
robust
We-
program.
We are very fortunate. I hired an actual teacher last February who is now spearheading all of our English language acquisition classes. ESL means it's your second language, but sometimes this is somebody's 5th, 6th, or 7th language.
Wow.
So English language acquisition is a more general phrase for it. She offers a conversation club at Woodland Elementary, or Woodland Early Learning Centers as it's called now, for the parents who are dropping their children off for Head Start. So they can drop their children, come in, spend an hour. It's literally like it sounds. They just sit in little pairs or just one big circle, and they practice getting comfortable speaking English. Most of them are lower levels, but it gives them an ability to get confidence for speaking.
When it's not your native.
Right.
And how often do you do this one?
Once a week, and this will be a continuing, as long as school's in session. So it'll be an academic year. So.
And how many people show up? Do you have any idea? I mean, the school year is just a few months into the year.
Right.
I've got that. But.
And it's something that took a little while to get people to understand they could come in. There was no charge. But we have 4 students now, and that's really great.
That's
it's
great.
been just about a month since we started it. So, but it's working well, and hopefully, as people tell other people, it'll grow.
Sure, word of mouth.
Yes. All of our stuff is word of mouth, really.
So we've got naturalization, you've got English conversation.
Yes.
Share with us a little bit about the outreach that you do in your area and what's going on there.
We do, coming up, we're doing a school, parent-teacher conference. We are part of a resource fair. We did one in North Kansas City. We're doing one out at East High. December, we'll be doing one at J.A. Rogers, where I get to speak for 15 minutes. So this should be fun.
You're a pro. Don't worry about it.
So we do things like that. We any event, back to school kinds of things that we're invited to, we go to, so that we are available for people to find out what we offer. So
Let's talk about some of the other offerings.
Okay.
I know you've got a flyer here
Yeah.
that you've got an exciting event or activities to tell us about.
This is another class we just started, and this one has been a dream of mine for 4 years. So I was excited to be able to start it. And the overall series is called English for Vocation Trades. And we started with carpentry, which was really turned out to be smart of us because of all the construction going on in the area. And we partnered with the Carpenters Union, and they offer a test that you must pass to enter the apprenticeship program. And it's a reading and math test, but the math questions are all in word problems, which is a reading test.
My least
in
favorite.
a lot of, yes, like everyone, I think. And also, if you come from a country where you have learned metrics, you don't know inches, feet, and yards. And
that's gotta be so
have
difficult.
to read a tape measure. We also offer, as part of this, we offer that. This is, again, another 12-week program. I like 12 weeks for some reason. And this is our pilot. So we have 4 or 5 people in the class right now. And we are teaching what is on the test, basically what's on the test, not the exact questions, obviously. And then we will, when they're done, we will, at the end, they take the test, which is online, and then they can take the paper showing that they passed to the Carpenters Union. And they can be accepted into the apprenticeship program.
Wow.
Which is...
So I will be anxious to hear how your class does and where they're working and how they're contributing to Kansas City, which I think is part of the whole idea of a library.
Yes.
This
is all literacy, and that's what a library really does, is promote literacy.
Are there particular immigrant populations that you work with, that we have larger numbers here?
The 4 main languages that we have translated into are Arabic, Somali, Spanish, and Swahili.
I think that would surprise people, some of those languages. I don't know that I would have thought of Swahili.
All of East Africa pretty much speaks Swahili. So.
At the library, I'm learning.
But yes, so we finished a program called MABE, which is an acronym for Multilingual Auditory Basic Health Information, which I got with funding award for. And
congratulations!
Thank you. It was an awesome program, and we are working on getting the articles uploaded to a YouTube channel. So we just have to put videos with them. So the languages were recorded in English, and then they had been translated into those 4 other languages, and then read by someone who was a certified interpreter to do that.
And the idea is that if someone finds themselves in a healthcare setting?
Because everything from rooming in with your baby to toothbrushing, developmental milestones for children, for how to change from Medicaid and CHIP to a regular health care plan. You now have a job and are offered health care, kind of a thing. There are 50 articles total, and
wow, that's incredible.
Almost every one of them is translated into the 5 languages.
Why is assisting in the immigrant refugee sphere something that the library is engaged in?
10% of our population is, in the last census, chose that they speak a language other than English in their home, which says that most likely they are a relatively recent immigrant or a refugee. So the library felt that we were missing that population and created what is now the RISE Division of Outreach. So we're just 5 years old.
You're a baby. You're in your infancy.
Yes.
Well, no, you're
we're in kindergarten now.
You're in kindergarten now. In terms of programming, I think you've got movies and other activities as well. Can you quickly share just some of that? I know you have an event coming up in October.
Yes. Guadalupe Centers Incorporated is celebrating their 100th year, and Tico Productions did a documentary showing the history and what Guadalupe Centers has done. So we are screening that on October 26th in the afternoon. Starts at 2. And so this should be really fun. I finished a documentary series called Becoming American, which talked about everything from the century of immigration down to people coming about. This was filmed a lot about 10 years ago. And I will be starting another one in January called Your Fellow American, with some things that were filmed right here in Kansas City, and it will be once a month for 7 months.
So the program isn't just for refugees or immigrants. It sounds like it's something that all of us could learn from.
Yes, it is.
Now, are there charges for all these other activities?
Nothing.
Everything is free?
Everything is free.
How do you do that?
I have a great library system. They believe in what RISE does, and they make this available for us to have people come into the library as either a student or to see the documentaries, come to a naturalization ceremony. The library just believes in what we do.
How did you get into this field?
Strangely, I had not ever intended to either work in a public library. I was a special librarian with a history degree that was going to work in an archive, and the next thing I know, I'm in a public library doing children's services, which was really scary because I had not trained in that, but it was great fun. And I moved to Kansas City from California and was a children's person, and then I took over as the branch manager at the Reese Library on the west side. And 11 years later, this idea was presented, and
here you are.
Here I am, and it's a perfect job.
We are so lucky to have you. So our listeners should check out kclibrary.org, RISE,
Yes.
and they can find out all the information about
Yes.
all these programs, movies, videos, everything.
Yes.
And it's free.
And it's free. And we have a newsletter, so they can sign up for our newsletter, and it comes out once a month, and then they'll know everything that we're doing.
Julie, thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
Thank you for listening to Casey Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit digital resource. We're produced by Charitable Communications, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Casey Cares is generously underwritten by the Ewing, Marion Kaufman Foundation, and we thank the Kansas City Library for hosting us here at the Plaza Library. Casey Cares podcasts are available on caseycaresonline.org. To be a guest or underwriting opportunities, go to our website. You can spread the love. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter at Casey Cares Online. Thank you for listening to Casey Cares on ESPN 1510 AM and 94.5 FM. And thanks again to the Kansas City Library.